right we should be eating?
You can eat as what which feels to you to be most supportive to your biology. There are many forms of food in your world today that we see have many processes that have taken place. That really isn't going to be for most people's biological nourishment. And yet, all of those kinds of food that may be lower in vibrational sustenance and more processed can serve people who still want to, in a sense, remain more in the dark, at a heavier vibration, more in the play of drama, more disconnected still of their actual nature. Those foods, because of their heavier vibration and in a sense, chaotic frequency and structures, can then, because the person ingests it, they then begin to resonate at that chaotic state, that heavier frequency. It can then enable them to remain in a more disconnected place in terms of not being able to really connect to more of their actual nature, because perhaps they want to remain in the play of darkness and still explore that idea of separation and limitation and pain and suffering and physical illness and sickness. They may still find that to be the most pleasurable and least painful way to go, based on how they choose to define pleasure and pain, based on who they perceive themselves to be, based on what they've been taught or bought into. So, there are foods that you may not personally want to eat. You may feel they are too processed, too heavy, not healthy, but understand for some others it is the right food in the right time for them in order for them to keep creating the idea of separation. And to do that is of equal value to creating the other idea of wanting to become more connected and realize more of who you actually are. Thus, if you want that choice, it is advisable, suggestible that you start eating, if you haven't already, to eat foods that are of a more whole nature, more just picked off the tree in a sense, pulled out of the ground, grown with greater care and thought and love in the raising process from beginning to delivery of the food there for you to enjoyably, deliciously consume. Yes, so if you want to really start connecting to more of your actual nature, to lighten up, to let go of the old ideas of heaviness and illness and pains, eat more whole foods that are of a higher vibration. The choice is yours. Both choices are of equal value from the universe's infinite point of view. A point of view that exists in all that is, including all that you are. Always accessible, this point of view of you.
Many times it's simply a way to go home. Many times, for you are not your physical bodies. It is natural to think that cancer or anything that is an illness is wrong. It is not. There are many illnesses that you will need for various reasons on the planet. Some of them will finally take your life for you and return you home, and you will thank those the most. But there are many reasons for illness. There are many other things that happen. So instead of looking for ways to completely cure or to work with illness, you look at illness as a process that the person is going through, and you try to facilitate that process as best as possible so that you and they may learn from it and move forward. Then you no longer need the illness. There are many times that you will see it, and you have seen it already, where the people that are taking their last breaths, and they've called the family to come in to be there, suddenly get up and walk out of the hospital and don't have it anymore. We tell you, you have total free choice on planet Earth at all times. Now, there are also some other situations, and particularly in this situation, for this is the exit point. The entrance points and the exit points must be aligned with all 11 dimensions. And therefore, sometimes when a person is trying to die, they cannot. When a person is working with cancer, the cancer must take several months instead of taking their life right away, to align some of the other dimensions of time and space. And in those situations, it may seem, again, that you do not have full total free choice over your experience, but you do.
So we're simultaneously...
Attitude about food, towards food, as important is attitude of love and care about the food that you grow and the food that you eat, as important as what you put in your body?
Yes. does contribute. The idea of having care and the idea of wanting to raise a life energy that is going to be more supportive for your body, your biology, that you have a shared bond, understanding that you are raising it with the idea that it's going to nourish you, that you are going to have some form of experience, at least in terms of how the molecules transition in your body into another form and shape and provide you with a particular idea of energy to fuel the idea of a physical body. So the more thought and understanding you have in that process and care and nurturing you place in that process, then the food, the resultant food is going to have a higher understanding, if you will, a higher life force, a greater willingness and understanding of how to support your biology when time comes to relate to one another in the consumption form of interacting together.
Aisha, what's going on with the epidemic of obesity, especially in America?
What's happening on Earth with the epidemic of obesity, you ask? Well, that's what we'd like to know. Haven't you had enough already? Well, you really have come up with a lot of great tasting foods, desserts, candies. How fantastic they do taste. How could you possibly stop? How could you turn your back on such a vast variety of delicious foods, desserts, treats? How could you ever turn your back and walk away from those chocolatey, they don't melt in your hands, but they're so savory and delicious in your mouth, energetic forms of consciousness.
Right?
That serve each of you when you consume them in ways that will help you stay on course with whatever life path you want to have. So if your life path that you desire is going to be in that realm that relates to how those forms of food come into place, come into existence, then you will continue to resonate in that form of your consciousness. For there is some resonance to the idea that you are what you eat, in a sense that what you eat has a resonant consciousness that can carry out into terms of how you experience your world, and can then impact, in a sense, your physiology to such an extent that you can start gaining more weight. So there are many ways then to talk about why do they eat so much and become so obese. What's happening there? There are many reasons for this and many issues, you could say, and for each person it is a little bit unique. You have to take each case individually, as it were, to really get to the bottom of it. But as a general overall idea, there are many who feel in that form of digesting those foods a connection that feels so at home to them. It feels so delicious, and you see your actual nature is infinitely delicious. It is of infinite tastiness for you. And so for some who aren't quite ready to go to that place sensorially, emotionally of tapping in and allowing themselves the idea that they are the creator of their experience and they are infinitely delicious, they're not ready to go there. That is too frightening for them. Perhaps they are still under the doctrines of their religious institutional teachings of limitation. Then they, in a sense, feel some of that delicious that is their actual nature through the foods that they consume. And yet, the obesity, if it becomes a problem in how they move about day to day or causes some discomfort and illness, that then can be